In this video, I'm going to be exploring the Chinese lantern plant up close and personal using some macro techniques. I've got some really interesting equipment to shoot these really interesting plants with, so stick around and I'll get started in just a sec. Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux and welcome back to another plant/flower photography tutorial where today we're shooting some of these little Chinese lanterns. Now these Chinese lantern plants, they've got all sorts of different names. I'll put some of those names down in the description if you maybe call them something else, but they're a very recognizable plant that flowers in the winter time. So we've got some of these now that are looking pretty good with this bright orange color. They've got this papery texture surrounding the fruit. So these are almost completely hollow, very light, with a little fruit on the inside. And as the fruit starts to ripen, they do something really interesting. That paper texture starts to disappear and fall off, and you're left with like a skeletal structure of this of the lantern left behind, which is going to make for some really interesting photography, especially if we get up close. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing today. I've got my camera, my lighting, a few other bits and bobs ready to go, so I'm going to start shooting some of these lanterns and see what we can do. So as you can see, I've got lots of these little Chinese lanterns to take a look at, all in various states of growth and decay. The first ones I think I'm going to look at are the proper lantern ones with the paper on the outside of them. I think it's going to be really interesting to shine some light through those. So the very first thing that I need is some lighting. For my lighting, I'm going to be using the Adaptalux Studio, which you can see sat here on a little mini tripod. I'm going to be plugging in various lighting arms so that I've got a little bit of light to direct around and control to be where I need it and in the brightnesses that I need it. I can then start placing my lanterns in front of my light and seeing what happens. I can already see there that some light is shining through the exterior of my lantern. It's really thin, so it's going to highlight all of that interesting structure and all of the colour on the inside of the lantern and make them look just like real Chinese lanterns should. So exploring my lanterns when they've still got their little orange skin on is quite interesting, but it's a little bit tricky. You're trying to shine light through that exterior skin without getting the light source in the image, without having some sort of weird background. Luckily, we've got a few little contraptions to help us out. So obviously we've got the flexible lighting arms of the Adaptalux Studio. I've got one lighting arm pointed over here at my background, and I've got another lighting arm coming in from behind my lantern, so it's actually shining light through that orange skin and making the lantern glow. Over here we've got our brand new macro subject holder, which has got 4 flexible arms with crocodile clips on the end of them, so that you can place your subject exactly where you need it. And then I've got 2 of the other arms holding one of our background gradient cards. Now these are just coloured pieces of card which are really handy for putting in the background of your macro shots to introduce a little bit of colour. So for this shot I went for a green and a blue just to contrast a little bit with the orange of the lantern, but by all means you could maybe use an orange and a yellow as well to complement the orange of the lantern. Now all of this has given me quite an interesting look at the way that these lanterns glow with the right lighting, but I think there's something a little bit more interesting going on here, and that's when all of that orangey paper surface falls off. Simply swapping my subject over has taken these flowers from one level to the next. There's a lot more interesting detail here, a lot more to play around with, and because it's transparent you can make a lot more use out of those background cards. I've changed to more yellowish colour because I think it makes that fruit on the inside of this pod stand out a little bit more. All of the pictures and video that you've seen so far have not actually been taken with a macro lens. We are a macro channel and I would usually use a macro lens, especially indoors like this where you've got the time to focus manually and play around with things. But today I've been playing around with something that Sam has recommended. He's been recommending these for years. It's a little attachable and detachable Raynox adapter. So this is a Raynox 250 macro adapter. It clips to the front of your lenses and adds a lot of magnification. So this is a 28 to 70mm kit lens which came with the Sony a7 III, and on the front of that I can just clip this little adapter. It's quite sturdy on the front there, and it adds all of this magnification, turning your normal lenses effectively into a macro lens. The quality is fantastic. It maintains your ability to autofocus, and with a zoom lens like this, you can actually still zoom in and out a little bit. If you zoom out all the way to a wide angle, you do start to get some vignetting, but you can sort of see the outsides of the adapter, but you can stay zoomed in, and it's just a really cheap and effective way of trying out a little bit of macro without that big initial outlay of a dedicated macro lens. I definitely would recommend giving these a go. Sam's right, they are a lot of fun, and especially if you're just starting out or just want to give it a go, try out something like these lanterns. It's a really great option. I'm having a lot of fun using it, so I'm going to get back to my skeletal lanterns and see if we can't make something a little bit more abstract. I do think the most interesting part about these plants is when they start to decay and they leave this skeletal structure. It's a very unique, I mean the whole plant is a very unique plant, but this in particular is a very unique way of decomposing, especially if you can find ones that have still got maybe a little bit of their paper structure left on them, maybe with some holes in the sides so that you can get a look at the fruit as well. There's a lot of creative options as soon as things start to move away from the norm. These lanterns, when they're fully ripe, you can light them up from the front and get an orange shot, or you can light them from the back and make them look like a lantern. But with the skeletal shots, you can maybe focus in on the foreground structure and focus in on the background structure, light them completely differently. I've been putting some coloured lights in different places to really make those abstract shots. I think if you can get close enough and creative enough, you can really obscure what the subject actually is. I think people would have a hard time guessing some of these up-close images if they hadn't done it themselves. Let me know what you think to the different types of decay that we've been looking at today. Do you prefer the more traditional looking lanterns, or do you prefer the skeletal looking structures as they ripen and all of that paper structure falls off? Let me know if you enjoyed this video by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more macro photography tutorials, ideas and inspiration coming in the future. For now, that is all that I've got time for. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.